Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Michelle. Michelle has a bomb drop of February 5th, 2022, and a date of marriage of 2014. She has a clinging boomerang who is a high-energy replayer. She says, "This is my second question, but I'm still struggling with knowing if it's a midlife crisis. My husband has had some challenges at work and he's become unhappy in his job." Right there. Those are some MLC attributes right there. Okay. He had a car accident in January 22. He wasn't injured, but he struggled emotionally for a short time afterwards. Right there. We have a trigger that could have caused this. And there can be multiple triggers for some, okay? This is a second marriage for both of us. You've been married, what? Almost 8 years. Okay. He announced he was unhappy and he was leaving in February. He returned after 1 week, but again he left after 6 more weeks. He was having an affair at this time. This is over now, but they see and speak to each other regularly as friends. That can't keep happening. Okay, let's talk about that a little later. He says he loves me, but he's not in love with me, and that he just can't be with me, even though in the next sentence, he says our life was amazing. He texts me about 3 times a day, and we speak every week and see each other every couple of weeks. He holds my hands, hugs me, kisses me on the lips. He's kind and understanding when I'm upset, but he says we have no future together other than friends. I want to stand for our marriage, but it says, but will never love me again. But I think he means, but he will never love me again. What do I do? So there's no reason to stay. He will never love you again. He does love you now. MLC. And let's suppose that this is an MLC. Love is buried. It's there, though. Midlife crisis is a crisis of identity. He's confused. He had a big scare with the car accident. And he was already unhappy at work. So especially men, but we have to identify ourselves with our jobs. Then he had a scare with his life. Oh my gosh, I could have died. Even if it was a tiny accident, let's say there wasn't a car accident, but you just missed getting hit and you swerved, but it would have been catastrophic. Oh my God, I almost died. Breathe, breathe, that sort of thing. And you have a brush with death. Midlife crisis is often a fear of or realization of aging and impending. Someday I am not going to live forever. Even if death isn't tomorrow, the average age for a midlife crisis at bomb drop is 46. Well, if the average lifespan is 80, you've got 34 more years. It doesn't sound like that many when you're 46 and you realize that I'm old. I've lived more than I have left, perhaps. But that's a lot of years. So it's not I think I'm dying tomorrow necessarily, but it's a realization that I'm on the other side of the hill. And it's decline in physical things. Sometimes for some, it's mental. And both. Things are getting slower. I'm not as fast anymore. I'm not as sharp anymore. The up-and-comers at work are catching up, and they're the ones that are getting hired and going, it's too late for me to become the CEO, whatever. So you're unhappy in your job, or you realized that you climbed the wrong ladder, and so you would rather have a different career. And now you're feeling like, but maybe it's too late, because at 46, just going with the average in this, could be he may be older or younger. I don't know the age in this situation. But at 46, can I start over? You can. But be realistic. Can you start over and go back to school to become a teacher? Yeah. But what are your chances of being able to go back to school and become a doctor and handle medical school and all of those? So where are those dreams that you missed out on that you can relive? Or wait, I wish I had dedicated more time in the pool to swimming because I could have been an Olympian, and I want to go back and do that. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're 46 and you weren't an Olympian then, odds are against you that you're going to make it now. So some of those dreams are not possible anymore or probable. Yeah, we've had Olympians that are, one of the a 41-year-old Olympian in the not the last one, but several Olympics ago, won the silver in swimming. I'm a swimmer, so I use swimming examples. She was amazing. And the odds, though, are against it. And she'd already been an Olympian. So they're going to see this as a crisis of their identity. He's unhappy in his job. Is he unhappy because he chose the wrong job? Is he unhappy because he doesn't like it anymore? But maybe he did. Is he unhappy because he is not doing as well? Or maybe he was doing well, but there's others that were doing better. The younger ones, they're surpassing. They're getting the good jobs. Then he had this accident that was a brush with death. And those two things together really got into the crisis, and they just started to niggle at him. It's like, I don't know what I want anymore, and I'm scared. I don't know if this is who I want to be. And when this happens for a midlife crisis, the thing that they blame is their marriage. You look at the other people in your life and the things closest to you. And typically that's your wife. Now, not everybody, you can have a crisis of identity and say, you know what? It's the job and I'm going to switch that. Some of that, why do some people blame their marriage and some people, the internal things, the things that are at home, versus others blame the job? I don't have an answer other than that maybe that's where the levels of trauma come in from family of origin issues. Because no matter how many family of origin issues, we might all have issues at our job that don't even have anything to do with us, or that do. But the stuff at home, we learn those dynamics from what we learned at home. And I think, and I could be wrong, but the more trauma you have at home, maybe you're more likely to blame things at home, even when the solutions might be things like, I'm going to do something different at work, or change my work, change my career. But so he's looking at these things he's unhappy at, but the thing he changes is you. Maybe he's changing all of them also, but he changes you. You don't need to be the one that he changed, because he said life was amazing with you. And maybe it was that, well, that life was amazing with you when I had this job and I liked that job. But it can't be amazing with you in their mind. Can't be, if I switched jobs, life with you was all about the other things in my life. These all pieces, they fit together. This job fit with this wife and these things. And when this thing falls apart, maybe they have an idea that the rest of it can't hold up either. They're wrong. But that might be pieces of what can be happening. It's a cascade effect. And yet, he seems to have a need for you. He reassures you, but he holds your hands, hugs, kisses you. He is there to help you, and he says that you don't have a future other than as friends, but he wants you to be friends. Right now, I want that too. In the beginning, I knew that I had to make sure I had a foundation of friendship with Chuck. There came a time later where I said, you know what, I'm not going to be friends with you outside of a marital context. I'm your wife. But I knew I had to build that foundation so that he would want the friendship with me, want the me part of it. And so I took it. Now, at the same time, you have to know when to set a boundary, because I still was his wife. And I wasn't going to say, I'm going to be your friend and let's get divorced. I wasn't doing that. But I had to accept that he wasn't at home when he wasn't at home, because he came home many times. But there was somebody else. Now, can you just be friends and talk to your former alienator? She's a present alienator. And no. Now, you may not be able to set that boundary because he might be too resistant to it. At the same time, you can set it up as, this is not appropriate and it's not going to work. the boundary itself becomes stronger later. Now you're just getting the idea out there. You're seeding it. So let's see. They speak to each other regularly as friends. Do you believe that? I know in my situation, I wouldn't have believed it at all because she was always on the pursuit. And that's not true of every case, but she was on the pursuit to get him to leave his marriage and to steal him. And in my situation, I will use that word steal. She was trying to do it that way. What's going on with them? Are they friends at work? Because that is a boundary that needs to, if he's living at home, then he needs to not be communicating with her. And if he continues, then there needs to be a line of, you know what, I want you in my life. I want you as my friend. But friends don't treat each other this way. The relationship, if you had an inappropriate relationship with her, then an appropriate one isn't really possible because of the level and type of inappropriateness of that previous relationship. Plus, he's always at a risk right now. Always right now, I know. Of being pulled back into it if he already hasn't been. We're just friends is not a viable and valid argument. It doesn't work. So I would have a discussion with him about that. But I want you to understand that if he's not living at home and it seems like he left, came back and left again, you have lost the right of spouse. And what that means is you don't get to say, where were you last night? Who are you seeing? Unless he comes to you and says, I really want to come home. I miss you and all that. But when he's still, even though he's being nice, but pulling away saying we can't be a couple anymore, you've lost the right of spouse. And you're going to have some balancing to do. You do let him know, you know what, we're married and this is not appropriate. But I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. And that you can set up a boundary if it gets worse or if you feel you aren't able to heal. Set that up as, you know what, I think you need to figure some things out. And maybe we need some space from each other. Why don't you take a few weeks where you just don't give me a call. I will miss you a lot. But I want you thinking, and I'm going to do some healing on this, okay? Because I don't want you out of my life. But I do think we both need to clear our heads a bit. There are different kinds of no contact boundaries, and I really don't want you in my strict no contact where it's for cake eating and they are being an inappropriate spouse, and you tell them you can call me back, you can contact me when you choose to be appropriate is the idea. It is an exit clause. Instead, I just want him to know that you're still there for them, but that maybe the two of you need some space, and I don't want it to be a long space. I want 3, I don't even want 6 weeks, and you don't have to do this. But I want, you know what, I need some space for about 3 weeks where we just don't talk. And that means not texting. That means no, I kind of need to go onto a personal retreat. That doesn't mean I'm going anywhere, but I just need a personal retreat where I need to think about what's going on between us. And I think I need to think about it in my own head without you coming and interrupting it. And I think that might be a really good idea for you as well. You tell him something like that. And after 3 weeks, give me a call and maybe we can even talk about it. But I'm going to tell you right now what I thought, what I am, where I am on this is I don't want a divorce and you might. And I still get a choice on what I want and don't want. It's not meant to be against you. Notice the voice that I'm using. I don't want a divorce. I'm not saying that. I'm being soft. I'm trying to be gentle. I don't want a divorce. I love you. You say you want to be friends? Well, husband and wives are friends. You say you feel like you don't love me? Well, I don't expect your feelings to be as they were right now because you're going through so many other things that you need to focus on your love for yourself. And you need to find who you want to be. I know it's going to be. That person is an amazing person. I already know because I know who the core of you is. But you need to focus on figuring out what you want with that piece of your life that is your identity. not the piece of your life that's my husband. And I want to give you that freedom. So I would really like it right now if the two of us could just take maybe 3 weeks where we don't text unless there's an emergency. So if you have a heart attack, please call me. But unless there's an emergency, where we just give each other the space to think these things out and to figure out ourselves and clear our heads and maybe get some calmness in us, because this can be pretty traumatic, this separating thing. And it's been hard on me, and I think, you've had some struggles this last year, and I want you to be able to get through them, and I want to be through them with you. I want that. But I think maybe right now, because you're gone and you're not living at home, it's not either what you want, or maybe it's not what you need, or maybe both. My goal in all of this is trying to be very understanding toward him, to not alienate him, to not create any guilt in him, to just know that you are there, you are understanding, and it's safe for him to say, okay, I don't have to call you. But I also want you to let him know that it is safe and you're not doing this as a punishment. Stop calling me. It's bugging me. I just want I think that we both need this space so that we can heal, so that we can come together and talk about it. I want both of you feeling very safe with it. So if you're going to do this, practice it first. Write out some different ways of saying it. Practice it in the mirror. Practice what your voice sounds like, the softness in your voice, the understanding in your voice. Because, standing for your marriage, find out what that entails. One of the things it entails is healing. And healing is something you do for you. Sometimes we heal and we decide we don't want the marriage. Sometimes we heal and we decide we do want the marriage, and we're going to stand for it because that other person isn't ready to be reconnecting. They're in a crisis. And your midlife crisis part just started less than a year ago. 8 months, about. So you're in the early phases of it. And that's very difficult. I want you to work on healing and then being understanding. Okay? Let me know if this was helpful. I hope so. And I will see everybody in the next question.